Do you believe in love at first sight? Do either of you believe in love at first sight?
I don't know if I did before, but it certainly seemed to happen that way, didn't it, Sri?
Yeah, it did. And the next day when we were travelling around Bangalore, I think it grew and grew.
Will you ever relinquish control, or will you sell it?
No, absolutely not. No, it means too much to us. It's a part of life.
Love in the peak and of the peak. Maybe there's something about the Derbyshire landscape which makes people behave this way. How work turned into love, and how love took work into a new dimension. First, the Peak District through the eyes of Julie Bunting, one of the mainstays of a very unusual country newspaper. There are free sheets and free sheets, but the Peak Advertiser in Bakewell is rather different. It's also 20 years old and a collector's item.
I know people who've got every issue of the Peak Advertiser. You know, they treasure it from day one.
For 20 years?
For 20 years, yes. And it's not unknown for us to sort of have to borrow one if we want a past copy. But yes, they save them. Yes. I've got one elderly gentleman who takes it to read in a certain room, and he goes off with it in a certain small room, and he says to his wife, I'm off to read my Julie Bunting.
The slightly dubious privilege of being associated with an outdoor privy. Julie's a tireless reporter with no journalistic training or experience behind her. She simply answered an advert for writers when the Advertiser was still being published in Mike Hoy's back room. He was a bank manager growing tired of trips down to head office in London. The newspaper was just a hobby. When did you realise that this was a little money-spinning idea?
About 2 years after we actually started the Peak Advertiser. And it was at that moment I decided that I was going to leave the bank where I'd been for about 20 years, and I'll go on my own this time and see if I can make a success of it.
The philosophy's relatively straightforward. Keep it local, make it colourful, and give it an old-fashioned feel. That's where Julie comes in with her quirky and historical features. Today, she's on the case of the annual sheep wash at Ashford-in-the-Water, a typical assignment, although DEFRA have done their best to deflate things by insisting on a maximum of only 6 sheep.
As you can see, when the sheep are in the water, there's a murky lanolin that comes out of the fleece.
You're only doing half a dozen sheep today because DEFRA says no more, but in the old days, how many?
That'd be full. It'd be full.
100, maybe?
Yeah, well, we do about 300 a day.
Up to about 40 years since, we got a big price difference. So
For the cleaner wool?
That's right.
Ah.
Oh no, isn't there a Morris-free zone anywhere? These guys should come with a public health warning. If they did something sensible like play cricket, I wouldn't mind, but you know.
Hang on, this is an English tradition that's been around for quite a number of years now. And why not actually celebrate the traditions of England rather than always put them down?
Well said. I've just been berated for taking the mickey.
I've been standing up for Morris men for years. My husband thinks that any group that haven't got ladies in when it comes to dancing is a bit suspect.
Yes,
but
well,
I do go for the traditional side of it, really.
You're allowed to do this, but you can't join in, you know. You can't dance with the men. I mean, what does that say about them?
Well, never mind.
They'd rather dance with each other.
That says a lot, doesn't it? We better not say that on camera.
I've said it.
Naughty bits.
Ooh. Oh. Oh. It was a bit of a gamble, wasn't it? Because there are lots of free sheets about.
There certainly was, yes. It was a hard decision, but I thought, well, you know, if we get the right product and base it on providing a local service, promoting local businesses, etc., that we would win.
But maybe not without his co-director and wife, Laurie, whom he met by accident while on Advertiser business.
At the time I was working for the Rutland Arms Hotel. I went in to do the marketing there, and then I became the assistant manager, and also I was joint licensee. And Mike started bringing the papers in personally. Not the delivery boy, but Mike used to bring in the papers, and he just said one day, "Good time for a coffee?" So I said yes, and there we are.
Yeah, we'll do a 2x7 for you. OK then, Alan. Thank you. Bye.
After a short time, he said, "I don't really like you working at the hotel very often, strange hours and everything." So he said, "Come and work for me for nothing." Which is what he meant.
Keith, it's Steve Picard. How you doing? Favour, can you borrow one of your books? I'll let you know why when you come round.
Back in 2 ticks.
So what's the problem, Julie?
Well, we've got a 2-piece article of a traveller's tale from 1792, and we want to illustrate it, but we don't really want a modern picture because it wouldn't be appropriate. So we need one for the front page for the first half. We found one for the second half, but at this late stage we're struggling for a picture for the cover.
The last time they had this emergency, precisely 2 weeks ago, a local artist got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, went out by the Derwent and painted that for them, look. And was still using his hairdryer to get it ready as they went to press. He did it for nothing, because he got the publicity and probably sold several pictures off the back of it, but that's what it's like working for a local newspaper. So there we are, the Peak on Foot, 1782, and a big hole.
That's right, but we'll sort it out, don't you worry.
You always do?
Yes, we always do.
It's part of the fun of this game,
It
though,
is,
isn't
yes,
it?
yeah.
Destination, another business empire built by a husband and wife team. The village shop at Ashford. It's booming.
150, please. Thanks very much.
It's run by Ken and Catherine Ibbotson, who've lived in Ashford for 11 years, but had no intention of buying a local store when Ken was working as a member of the cabin crew for British Airways.
My husband retired from British Airways, and we've got 2 sons, one at university, one about to go. So we needed another income. The shop had been at a low ebb, and we just saw an opening where we thought, you know, if we introduced lots of different things as well as the basics, we'd, you know, stand a chance.
Where would you sooner be, 35,000 feet above sea level or here?
I don't mind. I don't care. I used to enjoy working for British Airways, but now I've left, I've forgotten all about it.
What made you take on a village shop, though? Because they go bust all over the country, don't they?
Yeah, well, we just decided it was so run down when we bought it. We thought I could see the potential in it.
It could only go up?
It could only go up, yeah.
Rather like your aeroplanes.
That's right, yeah.
The time does go very quickly, but Ken's managed to regain his youthful figure, having lost about 3 stone through hard work.
Through hard work?
Yeah, he starts about, well, he gets up about 4:30 in the morning, and we don't close till 6 at night, so they are very long hours.
There we are, thank you.
And what is the secret of your success, then? What are the specialities you do?
I don't know.
Ken's pickled onions.
Yeah, my pickled onions, yeah.
You do pickled onions?
Yeah, I make them. That's one of the reasons I took over the shop, to sell them.
Really? You can't make a pickled onion. You could pickle an onion.
Well, pickled onion, but I have my own vinegar and everything. It's own recipe. Well, it took over, you see. I started just making a few, and then it got more and more and more. And eventually, I just couldn't keep up.
So this queue really is not for ice cream. It's for Ken's pickled onions.
No, but I do. I can't make enough, actually. I mean, at Christmas time, I sell loads of.
Lorry loads.
Yeah, I do, honestly.
It's a very difficult area to distribute in. I mean, for instance, we've got 95 distributors who distribute to probably about 50 or 60 villages and small towns. Well, the small towns being Bakewell and Matlock and Wirksworth. But there's a lot of work to get the paper to each village.
Do they go fairly quickly then?
They do. They're very, very popular with the locals, and well, the tourists as well. It's surprised when they come like on a Thursday, and they've usually gone by the Friday or the Saturday.
They need to deliver more then, don't they?
I could do with more, really, yes.
And what about this for above and beyond the call of duty? Ken from the shop acts as a delivery man too, disseminating information to outlying villages for the benefit of farmers, publicans and other shopkeepers who don't get into the towns too often.
A village life, you know, for a day out is wonderful. So let's encourage the businesses such as the small village shop and the local pubs that do the food. And let's tell everybody that they're still there. And that's what the paper's basically all about.
It's been a new lease of life for you, in a sense, hasn't it?
It has. It's made me learn a lot more about the peak, but the family joke is that she'd do that for nothing. But I don't tell Mike,
but
because I probably would. Yes, because I enjoy every minute of it.
Do you? And you keep coming up with stories?
Yes, that actually gets easier because people contact me. I get a lot of letters saying, please write about this, look into this, find out about that. And one thing often leads to another. But the readers are just magnificent. And touch wood, nobody has ever declined. If I've asked for any help, any advice, any memories, any photographs, they're the most loyal bunch of people you could hope to meet.
Julie's on the trail of a love story to form the focal point of an advertising feature about weddings. She's chosen the right place. The country bookstore is big on fiction, but even bigger on fact.
Well, we've just added another 2 million American titles to our internet site. Already there was 1.2 million titles, and now we've added another 2 million, making us the largest online shop, any shop in Europe.
The shop is housed in the old Hassop railway station, built to serve the Devonshires at Chatsworth. There's even talk of reopening it. At least there'll be plenty to read while you're waiting for a train. The driving force behind the internet operation is Geraldine's husband, Sridhar, a man she met by chance on a backpacking holiday in India.
Geraldine, this love story of yours, we've got to have it for this feature. You know, a nice up-to-date love story, and you're both in books, so you tell me your story of how you met.
Well, strangely enough, it was really involved a book, didn't it, Sridhar? I was backpacking in India with a girlfriend, and this was 10 years ago, and we were on a train travelling between Mysore and Bangalore, and Sridhar was sat opposite me on the train. He was reading a book, and I asked him what it was he was reading.
And it was?
It was The Tao of Physics, Fritjof Capra, and I said, oh, I'd seen that book, I meant to look at it, and he said, oh, well, what's your name? And I said, Geraldine, and then he signed it to me and gave it to me, and I said, oh, no, I've got a bookshop, you know, really, but he insisted, so, and I still have that book.
It's a strange thing, you met on a train, he gave you a book, and here you are, surrounded by potentially millions of books, if you take your internet into account, in an old railway station.
I know.
Yes.
I know, it is.
So you must believe in fate?
I don't have strong beliefs in anything particular.
Not really? You've not had any religious differences or nothing?
No, it has been an interesting journey, you know, for the last 10 years.
Now, Amazon, I don't think, are in profit yet. Are you?
Well, you know, we couldn't afford not to be, because Amazon had all those millions to lose, didn't they? But we've not got money to lose, so it's been a case of having to be profitable from the word go, so we've grown organically.
So you managed to get a picture for the front page, but it's not from the book, is it?
We decided to use an old postcard in the end. The date was good, it fits in with the article, which was 1782, somebody's memoirs, and that was painted at around the same time, and on balance, Steve and I thought it looked better than a modern photograph.
It's enabled you to live quite well, though, hasn't it? It's made a good life for you, and why shouldn't it?
Yes, it has indeed. But there again, those first few years, it wasn't. Those first few years were hard, you know, and we worked all hours and everything. And it's only as the paper has got more popular and well read, new companies come into the area, new shops are opened, and if they ask, where should we advertise? Then they come to us. Because it's all word of mouth. We have no high-pressure salesman, we have no salesman on the road at all.
No, there's only Julie, scouring the Peak District for more nuggets and still being read in the smallest room of the house. You're proud of it, aren't you?
Absolutely. I think there's nothing like it. Really, there isn't. I've never seen anything like it anywhere. Centralised.